What's up, everyone? Happy Saturday. Got my glasses on today. I don't wear my glasses very often, but I need to look a little smarter for this episode to talk about this STP song, because we need to take this to the next level and learn something here, because we're going to learn some fancy phrases. I'm going to teach you a couple new music terms that you haven't heard before. Maybe you have. Some of you might have heard them, but this is stuff that you learn in music school if you go, which I did happen to go to music school. And I was typing out the definition of this term I'm going to tell you about. And they have an AI overview now. It doesn't even bring you to websites. It just skips that and goes to AI. It's really interesting. Sale on the Beato bundle, the ultimate bundle with my 4 courses: ear training, theory, beginner guitar, and quick lessons pro, which is like my kind of advanced guitar course, or more medium, intermediate. All together bundled for $99. The sale goes through the rest of the weekend. I just want to say one thing about this tune. I'm going to talk about the tune Creep off the first record, Core, which came out in 1992, and Brendan O'Brien produced it. And I had Brendan in here for an interview. Brendan never does interviews. I just finished editing it today, and it's going to come out sometime this week. Brendan never does interviews, and this is really exciting because I asked him about all those records he worked on, all the Stone Temple Pilots records, all the Pearl Jam records, all the Rage Against the Machine records, then from Soundgarden to Train to Korn to Bruce Springsteen to AC/DC and everything. He worked on Blood Sugar Sex Magic. He engineered, mixed it. It's really it's about 3 hours long. It's 2 hours and 59 minutes. I think it's a one watcher, but I learned stuff about Brendan that I never knew, which is pretty much, I never knew anything about Brendan. So this was absolutely fascinating because he walks into the studio, and I've seen him before because he was from Atlanta, but I learned all these things, and we talked about this particular song that I'm gonna play for you. So I'm going to start with this here, and this is a song that when I interviewed Robert DeLeo, we talked about because this is one of his. He and Scott co-wrote this song, and this is absolutely brilliant. The thing I love about this song is all the different sections, because this is a brilliantly written song. Okay, we're going to start off here. Oops, sorry. I love that drum roll there. Hold on. We just have to appreciate how good the toms sound on that fill. They're just single hits. Like, that's a perfect drum fill. Listen. Oh, come on. You can hear the drum heads. You can hear the tone of the drum head. It's amazing. Bop, boom. And that is really a great... that is a great example of a perfect fill that's not complicated, right? And just going bop, boom. And each of those, the toms has room to breathe in that space. Now, that's something that me as an engineer also really appreciates, but I just wanted to talk about that. The intro obviously starts with C to B7. It doesn't go to straight E minor, it goes to E minor 7. And there's all these little things that Robert put in his, when he came up with the guitar arrangement for it, these subtle things. He and Dean, I mean, these guys are all brilliant musicians that they came up with to add color to this. The song is in E minor. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, but it's in E minor. So you'd have the notes E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, C, D. So it's a flat 6 and flat 7 chords. Those two chords are major. But he adds that B7 chord there, raising the 5 chord to a dominant chord because it gives more pull back to the tonic. But let's talk about the melody now.
Forward yesterday makes me want to stay. What they said was real makes me want to steal.
Okay, makes me want. You hear that note there? That's the sharp 5 on the B7 chord. So these really subtle things. It's so basically the melody is basically just straight E minor, E Aeolian scale. And it ends on E. When it hits that note, you don't notice it that it's a sharp 5, but it's a sharp 5 there. Okay, so let me actually tell you about this melody here.
Living on the house, yes, I'm living on my
So this is called, in music terms, antecedent and consequent. The antecedent, I'll read it to you. Antecedent and consequent are musical terms that describe the relationship between two phrases in a period, which is a unit of musical organization. The first phrase, the antecedent, ba 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 ba, is less conclusive and ends with a weaker cadence, while the second phrase, called the consequent, da 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 da, is more conclusive and ends with a stronger cadence. Okay, you can think of it as question and answer. It's like a perfectly perfect melodic structure. Okay.
All's I got is time, got no meaning, just a rhyme.
Then it holds on the E minor 7, then to the pre-chorus.
Take time with a wounded hand, 'cause it likes to hear.
So it's going from G to A sus2. Right here, listen, A sus2. So major 3. Okay, so the pre-chorus there goes to the flat 3 major chord, G major, and then it goes to the 4 minor. But they decide to play an A sus2. Why? Take time with a wounded hand, right? Because there is no third in there to clash with that, right? Wounded hand. When you use the A sus2 there instead of wounded hand, that would have ruined it. Part of the mystery of that pre-chorus is that sus2 chord there. It just makes the melody really happen, especially since the melody that Scott sings goes to that to that sus2. Take time starts on the 3rd of the G. Da, 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 da. And it ends on the 11th of that. So all these little, what you would think of as real subtleties, the sharp 5 on the B7 chord, the 11 on the E minor chord, the sus2, using that sus2 chord there for color. These are what gives the song the melodic interest, plus the introduction of harmonies on the pre-chorus. Frankly, compared to most songs, the pre-chorus here is as strong as a chorus. It sounds like it could be a chorus here. Listen here.
Take time.
you hear that sus2 chord ring out beautifully. Listen. Right here. I love it because they do that open, right? Then the build up to the chorus, the flat 6 to flat 7, and then. So once again, you have counterpoint here, right? You have this. You have the moving line, which is beautiful. And then, because I'm half the man I used to be. And then you have the counter melody that comes in that fills the space in the back half of that phrase, right? So you have a moving line, which adds the melodic interest that's under this too.
Time with a wounded hand, 'cause it likes to heal, I like to steal.
So
I'm half the man I used to be. Well, I'm half the man.
Ba, ba, ba. The second time. And then he goes da 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 do. So even the guitar riff has two parts to it, an A part and a B part. Now, if you actually are listening with headphones on, you'll hear the picking riff happens in the left speaker, or the left ear, and then in the right ear, it's simply the bass notes on a guitar. So it's not an exact double. And this is one of the brilliant things that Brendan always did as an engineer and a producer and arranger. I don't know if he came up with that or the other guys came up with it, but actually not doubling, not playing the same part. And when you don't play it and you can hear it coming from one speaker, the second phrase, I just think that is absolutely brilliant, right? So those two parts really have separation and give you that stereo feel. And then they do it 2 times on the last time. And then my favorite part, the Robert bass fill right here. Oh, when I interviewed Robert, we talked at length about that. I specifically played him. I said, where did you come up with that feel, with that fill? And it's a haunting sounding fill. And there's a great story with it that you should listen to him. Go back and check out my interview with Robert DeLeo, because it was a great interview. He gave me so much insight into many of their songs and the writing of them. And but we talked specifically. I brought up this particular bass part, and actually Brendan and I talk about this bass part. It's just absolutely brilliant. So you have these different sections of the song, right? You've got you essentially have a song that uses all those parts of all the chords of E minor, but yet the colorations, the E minor 7, the A sus2, the sharp 5 on the B7 chord, they use that that Scott sings, the moving line in the chorus that has an A-B part to it, right? The contrapuntal line. And then, of course, the A-B part with the answer vocal in the chorus. So there's all these different things that go on. The beautiful harmonies in the pre-chorus. This is a really sophisticated section, and it has their sophisticated song, and it has so much space to it, too.
Feeling uninspired, think I'll start a fire. Everybody run, Bob's got a gun. Think your company
So he's a da 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 da. He uses the major seventh on the C chord as well. It just really, really sophisticated and well sung, perfectly sung melody. I want to talk about this, about the chords, about the different minor scales, because this is kind of important. Scott says, love this song. I always thought the bass line was played on a fretless, but looking online it says no. Can you enlighten me? Scott, watch my video with Robert, and he talks about it, actually. Because it's really, really, really interesting when he talks about his bass rigs that he used at the time. Okay, so I want to talk about minor scales, because there are many different types of minor scales, and this is stuff that I go through not only in my Beato Book Interactive, which is my video course, and I said everything is on sale for $99. You can click to another tab right now and get the sale through the weekend. But I begin and I talk about the major scale and its 7 modes. Then I talk about the melodic minor scale and its 7 modes. And I talk about the harmonic minor scale and its 7 modes. But sometimes, and what are those things? Okay, so if you're talking about E natural minor, or E Aeolian it'd be 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. That is E natural minor. E melodic minor is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, natural 6, flat 7. I'm sorry, natural 6, major 7 to 1. So E melodic minor. 1, flat 2, flat 3. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, natural 6, major 7, back to 1. Now, some people say, oh, well, it doesn't melodic minor come down like this. It does in classical music, right? But when we talk about it in theory, we talk about the melodic minor scale having a raised 6th and a raised 7th. Well, what's the difference between that and the harmonic minor scale? Well, the harmonic minor scale is a flat 6 and a raised 7. Then it sounds like this. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, major 7. So that major 7 of that key is where that B7 chord. That leading tone. Okay, so many times when you're in natural minor, and this song is in natural minor, E minor. When you get to that 5 chord, though, they add in that, make it a dominant chord. And the only reason they do it is because it sounds better and it actually leads you back to the tonic. It's stronger to hear that, as opposed to if it were a B minor chord, it would not be, it wouldn't sound as powerful going back. It just doesn't sound, doesn't have that leading back to the tonic. Let's continue on.
Tells me I'm free. Friends don't mean a thing. Guess I'll leave it up to me.
Love it. I love that little guitar fill in there too. Great drum fill, perfect. Guitar's a little more active there. I love that. Choo, 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 choo.
Guess I like to steal. Take time with a wanted hand, 'cause it likes to hear. I like to steal. I'm happier than I used to be. Well, I'm happier than I used to be.
Answer. Beautiful. love that double line there too. Beautiful chorus on the guitar there. Woo! Wow. This is perfectly recorded.
Take time with a wounded hand, 'cause it likes to hear.
Okay, I can't stress enough. Somebody wrote caveman fills in here. Yes, caveman fills, my favorite kind of fills. Drum fills that are really simple and just sound great. You know, when I interviewed, I'm going to change topics for 1 second. When I interviewed Bernard Purdy, who's one of the greatest groove drummers, and on everything, Aretha Franklin, Steely Dan, Purdy Shuffle he invented. I mean, one of the greatest drummers ever. And he talked about this idea of playing simpler and simpler fills. And the reason was that when you start stacking parts on, he noticed that the fills would stay out of the way of the vocal. And that's exactly right. And that's what Eric does here on the drums. There's a super chat here. Justin says, Eric Kretz is rarely accredited for his parts, considered him an outstanding drummer with a unique feel and style. I totally agree. This is the stuff I'm talking about, is these playing the exact right fill for the song. All of these fills, plus the feel on this. If you just go back in the chorus, listen to the fills in the chorus. Listen right here. No fill. No fill, right? Now there are no fills in there. Why? Because they would be distracting. But when he goes from the pre-chorus, listen. Right here, listen. Oh, just flat and flat. Perfect. Then here, it's just a ba. That's it. Not doo-ga-doo, or anything weird, right? They're just the right kind of fills, just like back at the beginning when I said the, where is it? Right here. There's a fast roll, and then perfect. Ba boom, ba. Right? I mean, what else do you need? This is a lesson for people with, you know, when they're trying to come up with things. It doesn't matter what the genre is, what the style is, what the, you know, whether you're recording with real instruments or anything. Space is the place, right? And it's so refreshing to hear people that are not afraid to lay on a part there, to lay out. Really, I mean, when's the last time you actually heard space in a song? You hear that bottom? Great. And all the stick drags, listen. All the stick drags in the snare.
What they said was real, makes me want to steal.
I love too that the snare sounds so natural. The little buzz rolls, or little, I call them snare drags, buzz rolls, whatever you want to call them there. They're so right. I mean, it's so perfectly produced. And you know, 1992, right? If you go back and you look at Brendan's records, he and I talked a lot about this, about the natural sound of these records. They just they sound really beautiful. This track on this song, when he did the first Black Crowes record and the second Black Crowes record, Southern Harmony, these are impeccably recorded and mixed. Nick DeDia started working with him here, where he was engineering with Brendan. Brendan was still mixing all these records, and Danny says it sounds like 4 guys in a room, probably because it was 4 guys in a room doing it. It's just everything. Dean's guitar parts are impeccably played. They're so tasteful. Brendan talks about how Dean is kind of like a fusion guitar player and Robert's like an R&B bass player. And I thought that was a great description. He's like a Motown bass player, because Robert and I talk about that in Trippin' on a Hole, on that song, with that super complicated. It's funny because this is just so bare bones, just what the songs need, right? And yet you go on and listen to Trippin' on a Hole, and it has all these crazy fills and really complicated guitar solo, or like really grooving, really great, almost like that's more like a chicken picking kind of thing, or like a Joe Perry Walk This Way kind of solo, which I love that Dean plays on that. But all this stuff is so tastefully done. But this is, to be able to write songs where the pre-chorus is as strong as the chorus, where the verse is as strong as the chorus, where the verse has balance to it, has that da 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 space da 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 da. Every phrase is different. He goes to a different notes. He goes to a different note on each part of the A phrase or the antecedent. I think every time he goes to a different note, which is just brilliant. I would say this is an absolutely perfect song. It's 5 minutes and 34 seconds too. It's refreshing to hear songs that actually develop and do something like that. And it doesn't change keys, right? It's all in E minor, but the little subtle variations of taking things, using the major seventh on the note C. Da, 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 da. Rick, have I ever talked about Dave Abruzzese? Let's see. Busy drummer, his playing stood out much in the 90s, not talked about much anymore. He was an excellent drummer. Brendan and I talk about, we talk about all the different players and all the records. We actually discussed, we talked for 3 hours. We talked about King's X. We talked about mixing Super Unknown. We talked about Audio Slave, Bruce Springsteen, AC/DC, STP, Black Crowes, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, recording that, where the edit is in Under the Bridge and how that happens. And there's some really great things on it that I always wondered. And Brendan is very forthcoming about the stuff that he did. And Brendan tries to make it as if it's no big deal, but this stuff is genius. And this is really an exciting, it'll be a great 3 hours of music history, I think, when it comes out. And I want to talk about this song because we talked about it in the interview and I talked about it with Robert in that interview. So I would say go back after this live stream. Well, go and get your Beato bundle, Ultimate Bundle, and then go check out my original video with Robert DeLeo from, I want to say it was 2022. We did it out in LA at NRG Studios. And it's one of my favorite interviews I did. He was so generous with his demonstrations of things, and what a nice guy. Oh man, super super nice guy. Just really talented. All those guys, so talented. Anyhow, have a great rest of your weekend. I really appreciate you coming by here on your Saturday, and we'll talk soon. I'll see you.